Welcome to the Entrepreneur Insider Secrets podcast. Excited to spend time with you again, talking about things that are important to you as an entrepreneur and a new business owner. The topic for today is the hidden cost of free and when generosity turns into self-sabotage. Now, this is one that people who are just getting started out struggle with a lot. Because when you're first getting started, how do you start getting clients? How do you get people who will pay you? How do you get people who want to work with you and start doing things with you? Well, you got to start getting your name out there, and you got to start getting people to become aware of what exactly it is that you can do. And one of the best ways that you could do that is to offer them something for free. And this is very common across all sorts of businesses, all sorts of industries, to give something away for free so they can experience what it's like to work with you, and they can know, like, oh wow, if I worked with this person, this is what could happen. This is the type of thing I could expect. And so they get a taste, and then hopefully they want to take that taste and move forward with becoming an actual client. And that's a tried and true lead and client generation process. I mean, we see it everywhere we go. You go to Costco or Sam's Club, and especially on a Saturday morning, what do you see everywhere you go? Free samples, right? They have the little free sample trays. In fact, I remember when our kids were younger, we used to go there on those days because the kids would run around and go from station to station and get all the freebies. I was like, okay, here, they can get some food and it's not even costing me anything. But what would inevitably happen is that they would come back and say, oh, we just tried this. It's so good. Can we get some? All right. And next thing you know, you have a box of whatever the item was in your cart because the free sample turned into a sale. And that was the whole point. You go to the gym and you become a member of the gym, and first thing they did was, hey, we offer all new members a free training session with one of our trainers. You can go, they'll show you how to develop a workout. They'll show you how to come up with a plan. They'll show you how to do a bunch of these other things and get you started. I'm like, and it's all included. It's a part of your welcome package. Like, okay, great. And I did it. And so I followed through, and you join and you do the free session. And at the end, you get offered the opportunity to become a client of that trainer, which is what I ended up doing. But all of these things are a part of lead generation, right? They're a part of, how do I get somebody to say yes? How do I get someone to become a client? I go and I offer them a service. I offer them something for free. I offer them a taste of what it is that I do. They go, wow, this is really good. You're really skilled at this. You're really gifted in this area. You could really help me, couldn't you? And then the next question is, well, what would it look like for me to take the next step? And that's the plan. That is always the intent. That is how we build these things in such a way so that we can use the generosity up front. We can use the giving up front to build our client base, do things for free that will then hopefully lead to things that are paid. And it's a tried and true way of doing things. But here's the thing. Sometimes free stops being strategic and starts being fear-based. And what do I mean by that? You go down this path and you start doing things for free. And inevitably, there's going to be people out there, and we all know who they are. We've all come across them. Well, can you also do this for me? That was great, but now can you help me with that? And you can help me with this. And there's this temptation inside of you to like, well, okay, I guess I could do that for you. Yeah, I guess I could help you with this. And then it starts turning into, well, what about that? Can you do that for me too? And you all of a sudden now have this fear inside of you that you're getting taken advantage of. You're being abused for your service because they're not paying. They just keep coming up with stuff that now I want. And it becomes this fear-based situation where you don't want to turn them off and say, no, I can't help you and I won't help you. But the other side of you knows is that you're not being valued for your work. You're not being valued for your skill or your ability to make a difference in their lives. So you have this tension, and you know that when you're in there, that you want to be helpful. You want to create a good impression with the client. You want to have a good reputation. You want people to like you. You want people to say good things about you, because that's what leads to more sales. That's what leads to more clients. But in the same breath, you don't want to be taken advantage of. And too many times we become fearful that, well, if I don't do this, this is going to turn into, a bad situation. They'll just say bad things about me. They will say a negative comment about me that I wasn't really all that helpful, or that I didn't want to really do this thing for them. And so we become fearful that we don't want to give them what it is that we could give them. We don't want to give them all that, we could or should. And as a result, we tend to be too generous. We tend to give too much. We tend to sacrifice too much, and we go, all right, I'll do this for them. But then that's got to be it, right? And then, of course, the next thing is, well, what about this? I need help with this now. And the thing that happens is the person comes across as either a very dire situation, a very needy situation, or that it's very urgent. I'm really stuck. I really need the help. Can you really help me? I'm really, and they have a great story that goes with it. Why they need the help and why they need it right now, and why it's so important and critical that you do these things for them. And you're like, I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want to be cold-hearted, but I don't do this for free. This is my job. This is how I earn a living. This is my career. This is what I do to make money. And they're abusing the situation. And so we have to be able to know how to set those lines, and we have to know how to become diligent about creating those boundaries, because they can get taken advantage of really, really quickly. And as well, what does it start to do to you? It starts to erode your belief in yourself that what you're doing is actually valuable. You start to have this fear eroding into you that you believe that, what I'm actually doing isn't being valued. It's just people want it for free. And maybe what I'm doing isn't that valuable. Maybe what I'm doing isn't that good or that important that people would actually pay for it. And I would say that's a lie. That's a lie, because people are clearly demanding and asking for your help. They're just not respecting you and understanding that this is something that you do for work, and this is your skill set, and that you are worth being paid for what it is that you do. And so there's this level that it erodes away from you, and you have to guard against that very carefully. You cannot let yourself be taken down. You cannot let yourself be diminished by your generosity. You cannot let yourself be torn down by the abuse of another person. And I will just say it that way, because at the end of it all, in many ways, it's what it is. People are taking advantage of you, and they're very good at creating sob stories, and they're very good at creating these stories about why they so need the help, and I can't afford to pay you, but I really need this. Okay, well, I'm sorry, but that's just not how it is, and that's not how this works. It's not how I operate. I can't do this for free. It's not the situation, and you have to learn how to say no. And it's not that you don't care about the other individual, it's that you have to care about yourself, because the other individual is not caring about you. So the next thing I want to talk about is that free without boundaries undermines results. And what do I mean by that? Here's the thing that I know very, very clearly is that if you want someone to get a result, and you want someone to get a good outcome from whatever it is. Now, like when you're like most service-based businesses, you're in it because you have a heart you have a desire, you have a wish to make a difference in people's lives in a certain area. Whether you want to help them get healthy, you want to help them get more financially stable and steady and have a better financial situation. You want to improve their relationships. You want to help them achieve their dreams, solve some problem that they're facing. You have something that you look at and go, oh man, I want to help people with this. I want to make a difference in their lives, and I want to get them the result. And I know how to do it because I've done it myself. I know how. I know how to get there, and I know that I can help the other individual on the other side get to that result. Now, here's the problem, is that most of us aren't selling our services for problems that can be solved in an hour. Most of these problems that we're offering are more complex. That's why we're doing coaching services, because it's an ongoing situation. That's why we're doing courses and trainings and all sorts of different work, consulting work, because it's an ongoing thing that requires a process and a series of steps to generate the result. It requires commitment. It requires dedication to a process. I can go to the gym and I can show up once and I can exercise once, but guess what? That ain't going to do it. For me to get stronger, for me to get through that process, I have to commit to a process. I have to commit to a journey of consistent action. I have to commit to a process whereby I continue down a path and continue taking certain steps. That's how it is if you want to build a business. That's how it is if you want to heal a relationship. That's how it is if you want to get healthy. If you want to overcome past traumas and the past problems that you've dealt with. If you want to, work on any area of your life, let's just be honest, anything of significance, it's a process. You don't walk out of a seriously bad relationship and flip the switch and immediately you're fine. It's a process of healing. You don't build a business just by sitting down one weekend and going, hey, I'm just going to, post a couple things on social media and suddenly I got all the clients I can handle. No, it doesn't work that way. It's a process. It's a journey. And here's what I know. People who don't pay, the people who are just in it for free, never take action because they have no skin in the game. And so what ends up happening is you sit there, and we've done this too many times in the past to even count. We have somebody that comes in and they are wanting to do X, Y, and Z, and we have a program for that, and we have all that. And so we let the person into the program for free because God only knows. There's some special sob story. We trade with them. If you'll do this for us, we'll do this for you. If you will give us this service, we'll give you our program for free. We'll do these things for you. It could be any number of reasons. Somebody came up and, really pulled the old heartstrings and came up with a story. I can't afford to do it. Here's the thing that I know. I don't think I've ever seen any of those people succeed. Ever. I don't think I've ever seen any of those people actually get to the finish line of completing the task that they set out to complete. Many, many years ago, when I first was starting down my entrepreneurial journey, I was working with my former business partner back when I first met him, before things all went south. And we were doing conferences, and these were very faith-based, spirit-led conferences that we were doing to help people understand their identity in Christ. And we were giving them a lot of help on how do they understand who they are. And there were a number of people out there. This is a very important issue for people, to help them grow as humans and help them grow in this journey. And we knew there was a bunch of people from a local women's shelter that, boy, they could really benefit from going to this one-day conference. They would really, really get a lot of value out of it. And we knew that they didn't have the resources. These are women who have been through horrible circumstances, had horrible things that happened in their life. And we thought, out of an act of kindness, we would offer it was like 10 or 15 free tickets to the women of this shelter. And we thought this could be amazing for them. We're going to make it easy for them. We're not even going to charge them any money for the ticket. We'll let them in for free just to try and be good to them, to help them, to be supportive of them. And so the day for the event came. We were there. We were doing the event. And I noticed there was this one little section over here because we would sell out the event. It was a full house. And I noticed there's one little section over here on the side from the stage. When I was up there speaking, I looked over there and I saw there's a group of empty chairs. And I was like, that's odd. So like we sold all the tickets. We sold every chair in the room for the event. There was no empty seats. And yet there was a little section of empty chairs. And I went to somebody afterwards. I was like, who are all the no-shows? Who are all the people that didn't show up? Why, is there a story here? Is there something going on? Why did we have a bunch of no-shows? And they looked at me and said, those are the tickets you gave to the women's shelter. And my eyes just popped in my head because I had a realization in that moment. It became abundantly clear what just happened. Despite the fact that we could have done a dramatic thing for them, despite the fact that we could have helped them in a huge way, we could have radically helped transform their lives. We could have radically healed them and given them so much benefit. And they recognized that was option, that was on the table. They recognized what we were offering them. They didn't show up. Why? They had no skin in the game. They didn't have any investment. They didn't put any of themselves in to the process. They didn't invest. And because they had no skin in the game, they had no investment in the game, it was very easy for them to just simply not show up. And that has been the case of every time I've had a client that I have given away services free to. They may show up for the first little bit, but they're gone. It's only a matter of time. They're gone. They never engage. They never work. They never show up. They never do the thing. Why? Because it didn't cost them anything. They didn't pay anything for what they were receiving. So they didn't value it. There was nothing there that cost them anything. So they didn't invest anything of themselves. They didn't commit. And when you invest something, when you put finances on there, on the line, and you take money out of your pocket and you put it into something inside of you just shifts and changes and makes you go, well, I paid for that thing. I need to go get my money's worth out of it. How many times have you had that where you bought a ticket? I know that I bought tickets to events as well. And I'm like, do I really want to go do this thing? I don't know. But I paid $100 to be a part of this thing. So doggone it, I spent money on it. Now I need to go and be a part of it. It's as simple as that. And sometimes we have to pull ourselves back and realize that if we're giving things away for free, if we are handing things over to people for free, we are doing them a disservice. We are hurting them by not charging them. Why? Because they're always going to remain in the hole that they're living in. They're always going to remain stuck. They're never going to change. They're never going to get well. They're never going to heal. They're never going to move past the problems that they have. They're going to stay stuck exactly where they are. And that's the worst possible thing that we could do, is to leave them in their state of misery, to leave them in their hole, to leave them in the problem where they're currently at. That's harsh, but it's also true. If you want to help somebody, if that's your heart, you want to help somebody with whatever it is that's going on in their lives, you want to make a difference for them, you want to see their lives transform, because let's be honest, most of us are in this coaching business, most of us are in this online service business are doing so because we have a heart to serve. We have a heart to make a difference in people's lives. We want to see people transformed. That's why we got into this. We could have done anything, but we wanted to do work that was meaningful to us. We wanted to do work that made a difference, that we could, at the end of the day, go home and go, yeah, I'm doing things that matter. I am doing work that is significant. It's meaningful. It's purposeful. But to do that, you need to be able to actually see results, to be able to get to the point where people are getting an outcome that is amazing. That they're doing things that are significant. When I signed up to work with a trainer, they charge me a good amount of money every month to work with a trainer at the gym. They charge me a good amount of money to be able to work with them. But you know what that does? That makes me want to show up at every session. I am not going to skip, because if I skip, I'm still paying, but I got nothing out of it. So I always make sure that I'm there. Unless, there's a extenuating circumstances, then I reschedule. But I always make sure. Why? Because I spent money on this stuff and I can't waste it. Because I invested, I now show up. So we have to, as service providers, we have to keep that in mind. When we keep doing things for people for free, we're not really doing them any favors. Especially if it's an ongoing problem that they need ongoing help with. We're just prolonging the problem. We're just perpetuating the situation. Because for them to get a solution, for them to change, they have to commit. They have to be the ones to commit to make a change. They have to be the ones to commit to make something happen in their lives and do something different than what they were doing before. And until there's commitment, there is no change. So we have to keep that in mind. We have to be disciplined about this, not just to protect ourselves, which is important, because there are people out there that have mastered the needy game. They have mastered the game of, I'm going to be needy, I'm going to be helpless, I'm going to be a victim, I'm going to do all the things, I'm going to say all the things that I need to say to get you to feel sorry for me, for you to do stuff for me for free. They're good at it. They figured it out. They know how to play the game. And so you get taken advantage of. You get put in a situation where you're doing a bunch of work and getting nothing in return, and you know in your heart that you're being taken advantage of. But on the other side, you're also not helping them in the way that they need to be helped. It's a lose-lose situation. And as an entrepreneur, our goal is to create win-win situations, not lose-lose. And this is the downside of, while your heart may be in the right place to start, where your heart may be in the right place to get out of the gate, to do this thing initially, it's exactly in the wrong place to get a result. Your generosity is keeping you from a good place, keeping you from a place where you're getting paid for your work, for you seeing results in your clients, and from you creating transformation in their life. Your generosity is actually the obstacle that is preventing the result you hope to achieve. Now, next, I want to talk about how, hold on, redefining generosity as sustainable service. Now, this is, how do we balance this? How do we create a balance in all this? Because we've now talked about both sides, right? We've talked about how we use generosity and free to attract clients. We talk about how we use generosity and giving away services, giving free trials, free samples, whatever, as a way to get clients. And then we talked about the other side, where things fall apart, where things go in the toilet very, very quickly. Here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Free should be part of what you do. It should be a lead magnet. It should be a conversation starter. It should be the way that you get introduced to your clients. You can do this by giving away a free resource, free ebook, a free video, free training, a free session, a 30-day trial to your program, whatever it may be. But then There has to be a firm, hard wall of that's the end of free. You should use free to generate leads, to be and be helpful in those times. Be of good service. Put out your best. Give your best effort. Give a good service in what it is that you're doing. Don't hold back. But then don't bend. Do not let a sob story change your mind. Do not let somebody's difficult circumstances take you down that path. This has to be a firm line in the stand. It cannot be a wavy line that moves depending on the circumstances. You have to draw the line and say, this far and no more. I will not do more than this. This is what I will offer you for free, and that's the end. Past that, I'm sorry for your situation. I'm sorry for your circumstances. My heart goes out to you, but this is what I can do for you. If you wish for me to help you further, you wish for me to work with you further on this, this is the path in order to do so. This is for your benefit and mine. If that's not something that you can do, I understand. If that's not something that's possible for you, I understand. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but this is where we need to part ways. And if I could be a further service to you in the future, let me know. This is how you can engage with me by joining my program. Otherwise, I wish you the best. And you just simply have to do this, because if you don't, you will forever be running down the path of being taken advantage of not getting results, your business isn't growing, and not getting to where you want to be in any of this. And again, your clients are not going to be getting results because they're not engaged and they're not committed. They're just abusing a relationship. They're abusing your kindness and your generosity. So to recap everything and to try and bring everything kind of into final focus here, free driven by fear leads to self-sabotage. When you're giving away things for free all the time, you're ending up sabotaging yourself. You're sabotaging your efforts. You're sabotaging what it is that you're doing. You're eroding confidence in your own abilities because you are not valuing yourself. You're not valuing your expertise. As a result, you're diminishing your value as a service provider. You're diminishing who you are as a person, the value that you provide. 2, boundaries protect both you and the clients. Again, when somebody wants something for free all the time, well, now they're trying to get this from you, trying to get that from you. They're taking advantage of you and your good nature, and it's diminishing you, and it's pulling away from you because you quickly have the realization that this person will bleed you dry and they will never offer you anything in return. They're just going to suck up all your time and energy, and you're never going to be able to move forward in what it is that you're doing. And the other person is actually never going to get the result anyway because they're not committed. They're not committed to a process. They're not committed to actually generating a solution, because in order to commit to that, they have to invest something. They have to invest, and it's usually money. When they invest money, they become committed to a system and a process of finding a solution, of getting to a result that they're after. If they won't do that, then it tells you as a service provider, they're talking about getting a solution, but they're really not committed to it. And in that case, the best thing that you can do is move forward, because you know this person is not going to actually be serious. They're going to waste a lot of your time, and they're never going to be serious about getting a result. Lastly, sustainable generosity includes clear pricing. In other words, you have very clear boundaries about what is free, the things to get people started, an introductory session, a free ebook, a free video, a free training, whatever it may be. That's how we get started. That's how you can be introduced. But if you want anything further, this is the pricing for it. And you set those boundaries and you hold those boundaries firm so that people cannot take advantage of you, that you have clear boundaries, that yes, you are there to serve people, you are there to give people some free training, some free coaching, from some free service, and you want to help them with that. But then there's a boundary, there's a line. And if you want to cross the line, great. Here's how you do it. You become a customer. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. That's your choice. But then I wish you the best, and I will not be able to serve you any further. Those are the lines. And it's for your benefit and for theirs, because they will then have a much greater likelihood of getting a result, of getting a solution, because they've committed, because they've actually stepped up to the point of actually committing to a process of finding a solution. If they won't do that, then you're both kind of wasting your time. So that's what I had for you in this episode. I hope you found this valuable. I hope you got a lot out of it. I will see you again in the next episode. Until then, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk to you again very soon.